as you go along each day, I want you to take inventory of the things that you do. And the things that you do, I want you to ask yourself one question. What am I getting out of this? Now, this may seem trivial, this may seem funny, but what I've come to know is that the people that are doing extremely well, achieving at high levels in life, they're very deliberate on how they spend their time. They're very deliberate on what they're getting out of what it is that they're doing. And the people that just do things, they shoot from the hip. They do things willy-nilly. They don't have true purpose, right? They're not necessarily reaping any tangible benefits from a thing. You will notice that those people are less achievers, and they tend to be not as happy in the long run. It's fun initially when you just shoot from the hip, but what that says, the communication, the energy that that's sending out is that this person doesn't have direction. And so you'll end up anywhere. The reason that I say that is that I noticed, and I noticed it growing up, even growing up in my city, which is the blackest city in America, Detroit, Michigan, riddled with drugs, riddled with crime, riddled with poverty. But nonetheless, we grew up in it, and I'm grateful that I'm here still today to be able to tell the stories. In Detroit, and you can put pretty much, let's just say anywhere, because I don't want to make this an urban community thing, but you have to understand when somebody's sharing something, they give it from their perspective. This is how we grew up, right? I know, and this is not picking on people, one of the things that always baffled me is when I grew up, and even to this day, people associated getting high or getting drunk with having a good time. In fact, they would use the terms, we're about to get effed up. Now, if you think about that communication to the universe, many people eventually later on down the line really did get effed up from getting high or from getting drunk all of the time. So herein lies my point. If you're going to get to a serious status, and let's not speak about the outliers. There's a few people that are uber talented, extremely talented, and they were able to do whatever they wanted to do. They were able to make a ton of money, but that doesn't mean that we know what's going on in their personal life. You've got to bring yourself to a position to where you are not engaging in so much consuming of alcohol and consuming of tobacco or drugs, or I'll even put weed in there, even though weed is a plant. You're still smoking and you're still getting high. People can argue that. I'm not here to argue that. I've already had that conversation a million times about the endocannabinoids and all of that. Let's leave that alone for now. Point being is that when you are high, or when you are intoxicated, when you are inebriated, you have to understand that who you are, you the spirit, your inhibitions are basically lowered. So you become débil, as we say in Spanish. You become weaker. You're not as aware. You're not conscious, right? And so what happens is there are entities that roam the earth. You know that this is a spiritual war. Let's make that clear. And there are entities that are waiting to jump into your body to commit whatever heinous acts and get out of your body, leave you on the hook. And this is what happens when you are drunk, when you are high, when you are on drugs. You are not you. You are not yourself. This is why you can wake up the next day, you can come to after guzzling down however much vodka, however much Hennessy, whatever that is, or on heroin, as we call dog in Detroit. What's the new thing? Not the Xanax. It'll come to me. The fentanyl. When you engage in these things, and mind you, let's be real about something. This is not me coming down. This is me speaking to the Creator in you, the God in you, asking it to wake up. Because when you do these things, you are not yourself. But the vessel that you are in suffers, called the body, aka the vehicle. That suffers. Because guess what? You can do something that you don't even remember the next day, and now you're on the hook for something because of a spirit took you over. Or maybe you had the mind to do something, but you would never do that while you were sober. And so you got intoxicated in those wine and spirits. This is why they call it wine and spirits. The alcohol. Wine and spirits. Spirits need hosts. And spirits are waiting to do different things in this spiritual warfare to dampen your spirit. So this is not the time to look at hanging out and getting drunk. Well, you got to get pissy drunk, you got to get carried out. See that all the time. You got to get high every day. This is not the time for you to lower your inhibition so that spirits can take you over. This is not the time for that. This is the time for you to be conscious, for you to be aware. Think about something. How much does it cost to drink? How much does it cost to smoke cigarettes? How much is it, and cigarettes creating the addiction? How much does it cost to smoke pounds of weed? To do drugs? So you're paying to put yourself in a precarious situation. You're paying to destroy your health. And not to mention the food that people eat. So you can couple the food with this. We're already in a battle with the food. We don't need to add all of these other things. It's already tough enough to get good quality food. So now you're going to go get high. Now you're going to go get drunk. All under the guise of having fun. If you want to have some wine, if you want to have some drink, that's your choice. Cool. Even I may drink some wine on special occasions. But you want that to be rare. You don't want this to always happen. Think about between the drugs, the smoking, whether it's sniffing or snorting it, the alcohol, which is legal, but it should be illegal. Think about everything that has happened to people. How much carnage. How many problems has this caused? I just want you to think about this. How many problems has this caused for the world? How many people have died at the hands of drunk drivers? How many women have been raped? Maybe they had some drinks and they might have lost their mind. How many women have been raped? People doing drugs. How many people have went to jail for selling drugs, or they lost their life, they got killed in a street war, drugs? How many people were born with HIV because somebody's sitting up sharing needles doing drugs? Look at all that this stuff has done. I know you're greater than that. So even though people are usually upset with me for explaining this stuff, breaking this stuff down, I owe it to you. I owe it to you to even receive or accept the criticism from people that are sick. You're sick. If you're going to fight to be a part of something that has destroyed humanity, am I saying it's okay for you to, if you want to, you're free. Listen, we have free choice, free will. That's one thing that the Creator gave you. You can smoke if you want. You can drink if you want. You can do drugs if you want. But just because everything is permissible doesn't mean that it's expedient. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the best thing for you. How can you have or live the life that you were truly meant to live with all of these chemicals bothering your brain? With hosts consistently and constantly taking over you? How many deaths? How many people destroy their livers over alcohol, over drugs? And we can even put pharmaceutical in there. How many people have lost their lives over this stuff? That people, what is it, the lean and all this? How many? All under the guise of having a good time or getting high, which is essentially running from something, trying to relax your mind. And mind you, I'm not judging, but a spade is still a spade. Nobody's perfect. None of us are. But you will not be benefited by constantly hosting spirits because of these different substances that you are allowing into your body. I'm asking you to bring that down, to eliminate it, if possible. To eliminate it. Life is so different as a sober individual, and you get to save money. You get to save money. You're looking old. You're smoking so much weed, you're looking old. You shouldn't be looking that old. You're only 25. You're drinking so much. You got wrinkles all in your face. You're dehydrated. Alcohol dehydrates you. It's sugar. How many drugs are you going to do? How long will you destroy your family? And you're cognizant of it. Some people need to go to institutions. Some people really need help. But regardless of that, nothing is stronger than the brain. If somebody makes a decision to do something, they can stop it cold turkey. But this drug rehab, this alcohol, all that stuff is good. It's cool tools. But you can do it on your own. Nothing is stronger than the brain that you were given at birth. Nothing. No rehab center. No medicines. That brain can cure you. That brain can get you off of all of this stuff if that brain decides to. And that's up to you. People always try to make it when I say, hey man, you don't need that, man. Fall back off of that. They start because it's easier to be upset with me rather than to stop. And that's what I'm asking you to do. For your sake, not for my sake. I'm sharing a message. I've done my part, but I know you can see it through. That's the point. What good is life if you just being a host of spirits? You don't even remember half of the things because of how high you've been or how drunk you've been. You don't even remember the great experiences. You want to be present. I mentioned in another video, the point of life is to be present, to live in the present, because the future is yet to come. The past is already gone. So you can't be in these places. And when you are in the future too much, you have anxiety. They call that anxiety. When you are in the past too much, they call that depression. And usually people that are smoking and drinking and doing all this, they suffer from one or the other. Because you're not present. You're not present. And so you invite a spirit in and you become more depressed. You're thinking about what happened in the past. Or you're so worried about the future. You need something to calm your nerves. There are natural herbs for all this stuff that don't get you high. If you so-called need help, the goal is to turn to nature. We want to be natural as much as possible. And it's not natural. Check this out. It's not natural for people to consume, the amount of alcohol that they consume, the amount of illicit drugs that they consume, the amount of cigarettes that they consume, the amount of weed that they consume is not natural. It's not natural. And by the way, smoking, not using in oil or not juicing, because the cannabis plant is amazing. We're talking about smoking, changing the chemical properties, causing a toxic irritation here. That's what the fire is going to do. So you look around, and especially in my community where I grew up at, you look at my so-called hood, right? In urban communities around America, you can even say around the world, we have what's called liquor stores. They're telling you what they think of you. They don't have Whole Foods next to us. They don't have Trader Joe's next to us. They have liquor stores. And in those, this is a setup for you. A setup. In those liquor stores, they've also got chips, pop or soda, Swisher Sweets, Black and Milds, all of this stuff. There's no organic oranges at that liquor store. No organic or Concord grapes. No cucumbers, no none of that. Because they need you to be high, so that you can remain in the programming. You're a slave. It's easier. Slaves are really easy to control when they're high. Or when they're drunk. Because when they're drunk, they're just knocked out anyway. They're useless. And you're not a slave. That's the whole thing. You're doing things that you weren't even born to do. But because of a system, you've taken a part of a system, and now the programming has taken hold. And it's hard to get out of the cycle, because if you get out, now you're just one of the many that are still in. You're out, but now you lost all of your friends. You're even, oh man, you can't come out, you can hang, drink, smoke. You're an outcast now. But life will improve. I always say you have to be willing to accept criticism for the life that you want. Nobody's coming and running and jumping in the casket with you when you transition, when they bury you. Nobody is doing that. So you have to make the best decisions for you. To be natural is to be in alignment with the universe, with the Creator. To be normal is to be in alignment with mankind, with society. You have to make the decision whether you want to be natural or whether you want to be normal. And I'm telling you, to be high all the time is unnatural. And when you remain unnatural, you go against nature. And when you go against nature or you remain unnatural, you get the repercussions of going against nature. So you decide, is it going to be the world over here, the normalness, or is it going to be natural, that which God made, that which Creator, that which Allah, that which Yahweh, Jehovah, Buddha? Nature will never fail you. I'm not saying don't live. I would never say don't live. But there's a time and a place. And when you do things in excess, that's when it becomes a problem. If you like to smoke, you don't need to smoke every single day. Talking about weed. Once a week, maybe a couple times a month. You don't need to do this every day, because you are becoming an addict. And you're becoming dependent upon something that's outside of you. When somebody invites me out, you know what? Let's hang. Okay, cool. I'm not in there with all that smoke. I don't like to smoke. I'll do a cranberry juice, all of that. I don't need to be out of my mind to enjoy. That's the point I want you to understand. Enjoyment comes from within. It doesn't come from these chemical substances. Something is wrong if you need to use this stuff every day. God did not put that stuff in you. And this ain't a religious conversation. The Creator did not put this stuff in you. This is something that we choose as individuals through our various paths of life, things that are taught. But then if you come to another part of the world and then you see none of that, you like, they don't even do this here. Everything is subjective. But what's not subjective are the outcomes that these subjective things, everybody's doing their own thing in their own world. But the outcomes, those are concrete. So we can all see the outcomes. Leave these spirits alone. You have a spirit. You are the spirit. That which I cannot see. The part of you that I cannot, that's who you are. This right here is not me. Whatever's talking to you right now, that's me. So I can't see you. Close your mouth and say your name right now. If you close your mouth and you say your name right now, you hear it. That's who you are. And that's what I'm aiming to protect. Because that's the spirit. That person goes away when your inhibitions are lowered. So another spirit can come in and bump you out when you're high, when you're drunk, inebriated. Let's go.